So, in 1964, President Lyndon Johnson declared unconditional war on poverty. He said a war that the richest nation on earth can afford to win and can't afford to lose. Johnson said, "I don't know if I'll pass a single law or fund a single program, but before I'm through, not a community in America will be able to ignore the poverty in its midst." Well, we've proven more steadfast in our ability to ignore the poverty within our midst than he ever would have predicted. Today, we still have much work to do, with poverty rates in Oneida County at 14.2%, and Herkimer County at 13.6%, with slightly over 20% of our children in those two counties living in poverty. Let's put that in perspective. A family of four making $30,000 annually or less is considered by the federal poverty guidelines as living in poverty. Could you raise a family on that income? I don't believe so. And the racial disparities make it even worse. Established in 1966 with the passing of Lyndon Johnson's Economic Opportunity Act, Mohawk Valley Community Action Agency began with a staff of 10, providing food to hungry families and advocating for their rights as citizens. Part of a national network over 1,000 agencies across this country helping people. Today our agency has an annual operating budget of approximately $18 million, employs over 250 full and part-time staff across the two counties, operates 18 sites, offers 41 programs to services and residents in the two-county area, and also offers our foster grandparent program and our Head Start program in Madison County. Over the past 50 years, our agency has been an advocate for families in times of crisis and works hard to help its families develop their own resources in order to break away from the cycle of poverty. I think it's worthy to note that over 63% of our families that we help, that we work with, work full-time and still live in poverty. So today I think is a call to action to our community, because I know the people in this room, most of you care about this community and you want to do more to make a difference. Somebody said another link in the chain. We're all linked in the chain to help. I recently had the opportunity to visit the National Civil Rights Museum in Atlanta, Georgia. What a moving experience. And it happens to be the 60th anniversary of the Freedom March that was in DC, led by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., where thousands of people attended for civil rights and equal opportunity for all. Then I came home, and 2 black men were killed in Florida because of their color. And then we've had other senseless shootings since, and I wonder how far we've really come. So we need to advocate, I believe, for real change and equal opportunity for everyone. So I know you didn't really attend here today to listen to me. So I am honored and humbled to introduce our guest speaker today. We're pleased to have the opportunity to include the Lieutenant Governor in our efforts to raise awareness of the causes and conditions of poverty in our community. We need real reform and initiatives on all levels if we're going to make a positive impact on families in our community. Lieutenant Governor Delgado's presence with us at this symposium signifies the effort at the state level to make the Mohawk Valley and all of New York State a vital area for all families. Lieutenant Governor Delgado is from Schenectady, New York, and lives in Rhinebeck with his wife, Lacey, and their twin sons. I have twin grandchildren, by the way. We should exchange notes. Growing up, his parents worked for General Electric in Schenectady and demonstrating the values of hard work and commitment to the community. That hard-working spirit has stayed with him throughout his life. He earned a Rhodes Scholarship while attending Colgate University in Hamilton, New York, very close to our home, in our home. And after returning home from Oxford, he received a law degree from Harvard Law School. Before serving as a lieutenant governor, Delgado enjoyed a career in the music industry, focused on empowering young people through hip-hop. Do we get a demonstration? Worked as an attorney focusing on complex commercial litigation while dedicating significant time to pro bono work in connection with criminal justice reform. He also served in the United States House representing New York's 19th Congressional District. It's because of these diverse professional and personal experiences that Delgado finds common ground with people from all walks of life. And I know while representing the 19th Congressional District, he worked very closely with the community action agencies in his district and always supported our funding and our mission in Washington. And they've had nothing but wonderful things to say about you, and they were a little jealous we had you here. Lieutenant Governor Delgado is a great leader and champion for families in our community, and he was the first person of color to represent upstate New York in Congress. He's frequently recognized as one of the most active and bipartisan representatives, boy do we need some more of that, during his time in Congress. 18 of his bills were signed into law. 10 under President Trump and 8 under Biden. Mr. Delgado was appointed in May of 2022 to serve as Lieutenant Governor and was elected to a full term in November of 2022. So let's please provide a warm community action welcome to Lieutenant Governor Antonio Delgado.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to be with you all. I want to first thank Amy for the introduction, the kind words. Yes, I do have identical twins, Maxwell and Coltrane. They turned 10 this summer. We got them a dog, which they begged for the last 2 years. And they swore that they were going to be responsible if they got me one. It hasn't happened yet. To the Mohawk Valley Community Action Agency, to the leadership, the board, thank you for the work that you all do every single day, supporting individuals, families, and communities in need. Assemblywoman Bunchon, it's good to see you, as always, and thank you for your leadership. Let's talk about poverty. I'm not sure if you all saw, just yesterday, the New York Times had an article, and it talked about how the poverty rate, this is nationally, we'll get it here in our backyard, but nationally, it soared in 2022 as all the aid that came during the pandemic ended and prices rose. The poverty rate rose to 12.4% in 2022 from 7.8% in 2021, the largest one-year jump on record. The largest one-year jump on record. And poverty among children during the same period of time more than doubled to 12.5%, from a record low of 5.2% last year. The increases followed 2 years of historically large declines in poverty, driven primarily by safety net programs that were created and expanded during the pandemic, including a series of direct payments to households, enhanced unemployment and nutrition benefits, increased rental assistance, and an expanded child tax credit. Nearly all of these programs have expired since last year. Keep in mind, before the pandemic hit, the fastest growing class of people in this country, as alluded to, the working poor. The working poor. Before the pandemic, 2/3 of folks in this country were living paycheck to paycheck. 50% of folks could not survive a $500 emergency without going into debt. 1 in 5 adults couldn't pay their monthly rent in full before the pandemic. And so we made some strides in terms of poverty during the pandemic, and it should be noted that that's a good thing. It should also be noted that economic inequality during that same period of time actually grew. I think it's a devastating fact that during the pandemic, for the first time in our country's history, the top 1% in this country has a larger share of wealth than the entire middle class. And during the pandemic, 40% of families earning less than $40,000 lost their jobs. So, in a nutshell, as poverty levels declined during the pandemic, a good thing, inequality grew, a bad thing. And now that we're on the other side of the pandemic, what do we see? What's happening? Poverty is going back to pre-pandemic levels, but the concentration of wealth remains just as it always has been. Greed has long been normalized, and with it, poverty persists, even after the lessons learned in a once-in-a-generation pandemic. If you really meditate on that, it speaks to the psychology of where we are right now as a country and the culture of greed and materialism and consumerism that is principally holding us back when it comes to actually making sure that everybody has equal opportunity no matter where they begin in life. Now let's drill down in our own backyard, right here in New York in the Mohawk Valley. I've been traveling with the DCJS, Division of Criminal Justice Services. They've been doing a tour all across the state, meeting with different cities as they typically do. This year they're, I think, meeting 15. And yesterday, I usually join them. I wasn't able to make their meeting yesterday, but yesterday they were in Utica. They're 12 stop. During that meeting, the DCJS shared with community leaders that of New York cities with populations of 10,000 people or more, across the whole state, Utica ranked the 8th most distressed city in the entire state. Now that is based on a number of factors, including education, poverty, employment, health insurance coverage. Specifically, individuals living under the federal poverty line, this is just in Utica, 24%, 24%. Population aged 25 and up with less than a high school degree, 19%. Unemployment rate, 7%. Percent of population without health insurance, 6%. I share these numbers because we have to begin to look at poverty holistically. And I tell agencies across the state that's how the work needs to happen. You can't do this in a silo. If we're going to account for persistent poverty, and in many respects poverty that persists because of historical marginalization and oppression, that persists systemically to this day, it is incumbent that we have a holistic and comprehensive approach. That is the next frontier of this work. It's not piecemeal, it's not patchwork, it's holistic, and it's comprehensive, and it means prioritization. Now, as noted, I also served in Congress in the 8th most rural congressional seat in the country, out of 435. Now, when I was in DC, I think people were kind of surprised that we even have rural parts in New York. They all assumed that I was from one of the 5 boroughs. Every time they asked, what borough are you from? None of them. But I know rural poverty well. I had 11 counties in my district, including Schoharie County, Otsego County, parts of Montgomery County, all in the Mohawk Valley. My district also includes Sullivan County, which has the 4th most distressed city in all of New York with a population of 10,000 or more, Liberty. It pains me on a personal level to know that the story of upward mobility that I lived growing up in Schenectady with parents working at GE is not the story of upward mobility for far too many of our young people today growing up in Schenectady. Schenectady, the 6th most distressed large area in the state. Those jobs my parents had at GE where they got to put money aside and we moved from tough neighborhood to a little bit safer neighborhood to safe neighborhood, from small apartment to a little bit bigger apartment to our first home, cutting coupons, putting clothes on layaway, ironing patches on my holy jeans. Living that experience to figure out over time and watching my parents work us up because they have reliable jobs, those kinds of stories, they're not happening as much. They're not as frequent. And that's a travesty because too many of our young people should be or are being overlooked and left behind as a result. We have to do more to account for these persistent dynamics that have left communities hollowed out and trapped in poverty. And it's not just about being holistic, it's about investing in public goods. We have to get back to that idea that there are in fact public goods. Education is a public good. Clean air, drinking water, a public good. Collective bargaining, a public good. Facts, otherwise known as public information, good. We've allowed the concentration of private investment get so concentrated that it is overwhelming our sense of what it means to invest in public goods, what it means to have a strong and sturdy safety net. And we ultimately, as a result, have allowed it to begin to stigmatize individuals who ultimately might need to rely on these services for any number of reasons. We're making it very, very difficult both to deliver services, but also for folks to be able to want to receive them in the first place. And we shouldn't do that. One of the biggest reasons low-income Americans are not taking full advantage of government programs is because they have been made hard and confusing to access. People often don't know about the aid designated for them or are burdened by the application process. So we have to raise awareness and cut through the red tape and the hassle. And like I said, make the agencies, particularly here in New York, provide the services in a more cooperative fashion as opposed to territorial. This is heavy work, though. This is heavy work. And it requires a level of prioritization that is yet to come. But it's coming. It is coming because it must come. And New York must lead in this space. I want to just talk about some of the services that we have been working on and the governor and her administration, our administration, have been working on to give you a better sense that we're acutely aware of both the services that are needed, but also how do we make it easier for folks to access it and of course increase eligibility, with the caveat that yes, we know that there's more work to be done. Let's talk about childcare. Families should not have to break the bank. Should not have to break the bank to pay for childcare, and no one should have to pick between a career and caring for a child. And in New York, that should certainly be the case. Part of this means ensuring that folks have access to childcare services and can easily navigate the system. We made a $500 million investment in the budget last year to bolster New York's childcare workforce through Workforce Retention Grant Program. The funding will help an estimated 250,000 caregivers provide bonuses for existing employees and invest in recruitment strategies, including sign-on bonuses for new employees. We're offering a new state tax credit available to businesses that create new childcare seats and expand existing childcare options for their workers. We are committing to ensuring our state is one of where all families have equitable access to affordable, quality child care options. But despite these efforts, we know that people are still struggling to access the care. In 2022, 745,000 children, 18% of children in New York, were living in poverty, which equals about 1 to 5. Yet only 105,000 of those kids received access to state and local child care offered through the Office of Child and Family Services. That's why we're going to do our part to make sure that we make modernizing the application process a focus and a goal, make it more efficient and more accessible. We're investing $7.6 billion over the next 4 years into the Child Care Assistance Program and expanding eligibility by raising the income limit to the maximum amount allowed by federal law. Good steps to make sure that we are helping folks access child care, making it more affordable. More steps to come. Let's talk about housing. We know how important it is for folks to be able to locate themselves, especially when they're trying to work their way up and out of poverty. If you don't have a place to anchor yourself, it's very hard to go out and look for work, look for a job, and create routines and predictability for your family. We understand that Governor and I know how necessary it is that we deal with housing and the crisis of lack of housing that there is. The governor certainly made it clear this is a priority of hers in the last budget. And since then, she's announced a number of executive actions to increase the housing supply, including prioritizing $650 million in discretionary funding for pro-housing communities and identifying state-owned sites for potential housing. There's a lot of work left to be done in this space with the legislature, no doubt, and we will do that work. I also want to note that in the budget, we allocate $400 million to help homeowners weatherize and retrofit their homes and to provide relief to New Yorkers experiencing high electric bills through expansion of the state's existing energy affordability program. $200 million will be allocated for an expansion of Empower Plus, which is designed to help 20,000 low-income families weatherize and retrofit their dwellings with added insulation, upgraded energy efficiency appliances, and the switching from fossil fuels to electric alternatives. The other $200 million will provide relief through a monthly discount to more than 800,000 electric utility customers who are making less than the state median income and have not been eligible for the state's utility discount program. I'm sharing these specifics with you because I think it's important to understand what's happening and how to make sure folks are going to be able to access these things. More work is indeed required, but it's also important that we do everything we can to connect what we do have to the folks who are in need. We have to do that. We have to make that a focus. The budget also included the development of an energy affordability guarantee of the Department of Public Service, where homes that qualify to be electrified through the Empower Plus program will be eligible for the energy affordability guarantee. The energy affordability guarantee will ensure participating low-income New Yorkers will never pay more than 6% of their income on electricity. Additionally, on the point of making services more accessible, NYSERDA and the New York State Utilities together launched the New York Energy Advisor website, energyadvisor.ny.gov, a one-stop shop site to help low to moderate income New Yorkers get access to personalized energy saving programs. The point again is thinking about how to create easy access points. A couple more things I want to just address. Workforce development. Talk about my parents and their jobs. We know how important they are. We need to make sure that our workforce development and economic development programming is working hand in hand. We know that access to a talented workforce is one of the key areas to attracting new industries, but also to making sure that our communities have a path forward to opportunity. We're making a lot of investments in higher ed to prepare students for jobs in demand and recruit top faculty, but we're also making a lot of funding available for school districts, BOCES, and community colleges to develop strategic workforce plans to promote job readiness. These initiatives will help transform New York's educational systems, preparing our students in a very targeted and intentional way. Last year, the governor created a new Office of Strategic Workforce Development at Empire State Development Department. In collaboration with the Department of Labor, SUNY, and other partners, the office is using an employer-led approach to meet the needs of business. We cannot support training programs with grants that help New Yorkers prepare, or we can support training programs with grants that help New Yorkers prepare for the quality careers of today and tomorrow. And to this end, as part of the budget, the governor took action to mitigate the public assistance benefits cliff by disregarding income earned by recipients through workforce training programs for 6 months after job entry. In doing so, the governor is working to eliminate a key barrier to workforce participation for low-income New Yorkers. Broadband. When we talk about access to resources, broadband is a key factor to that equation. It's an equalizer in our society. In today's world, broadband is a necessity. Individuals rely, and families rely on it in every way, shape, and form. Access to jobs, education, it's all needed through broadband. We have the Connect All program right here in New York, which works to provide all New Yorkers with affordable internet, including providing grants to our rural communities that are often the most affected by a lack of access. Connect All also works to promote the federal Affordable Connectivity Program, which can provide eligible New Yorkers a discount of up to $30 a month toward internet service and up to $100 for a new computer or other connected device. There is help available in this regard. There are options to combat these struggles, but we must make sure that people who are in need are able to access these resources. As I'm sitting here sharing with you the details of what we've been able to do, I want to be clear with you. I'm acutely aware of the fact that more robust action is needed. That New York can do more. And it takes real partnership with individuals and organizations and agencies like all of you here today to continue to impress upon us the need for this work. I can't thank each of you enough for your commitment. And I want to speak just personally, and I hope you can gauge from these remarks that I'm pulling from a personal place. We have to be in a position where we reevaluate our values and what we care about as a society. Either we are a culture rooted in commerce, or we are a culture rooted in care. Either we are a culture rooted in sharing and giving and lifting up folks, or we are a culture rooted in greed, in selfishness. I can't accept the world where my children and your children, grandchildren are growing up where we make a decision that we know isn't the right one. And I also know that New York should be out front when you think about the national landscape. We should be leading. And we're going to continue to do this work to make sure that we are leading. And I want to say that with all the hate and divisiveness that we're experiencing right now, I know that what is enabling every single one of you in this room to do the work that you're doing is love. That's fundamentally what it boils down to. You care. You genuinely care about people, about communities. And as hard as these times can be, and they certainly can be, I want to help you however I can. And I want you to know that the same force that is emanating from your work every single day is the same force that is driving me. It is the most powerful force the world has ever known, and it is love. And I'm not talking about Cupid love. I'm talking about a strong, demanding, principled love that holds every single one of us to account. And since you did bring up my hero, Dr. King, you don't have to look any further for inspiration in terms of the power of love and what he was able to do with love through the work of nonviolence, which was inspired by his understanding of the power of love. We can overcome a lot, and we have overcome a lot because of love. So if you take anything away from my remarks today, hold on to love and hold on to each other and hold on to your work. And know that you have actors and leaders in this state that don't do this work as if it's a career, but do this work because it's mission oriented. And the more we have leaders who are mission oriented in their work, the more folks who are in need will be better off. So thank you, and God bless.